What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. You are back with Coach Morgan. And today we're talking business. We are talking the business of getting new clients and how we can go about that. 5 steps and strategies to getting new clients and retaining clients. So I'm going to do a rapid fire today on this one. I'm not going to take up too much time. So let's just dig right into it. Number 1, the first step for you to be getting new clients and retaining new clients is you need to know why it is that people should train with you. Sounds obvious, but so many times when I'm talking with coaches, sorry about that, we got a car in the background. So many times when I'm talking with coaches about what they do, why people should train with them, they're very vague with it. They don't really have a deep understanding as to why people should train with them, right? They don't really know kind of where they sit on that spectrum or what that even means for themselves. So knowing why someone should train with you isn't because, well, I have all the certifications in the world, right? And that's usually where it starts. Usually the answer that I get is, well, I'm knowledgeable, I know my stuff, right? I have certification in this or that, and right? I can help them with their diet and I can help them with their training and I just want to help people. Okay, but why? Right? Like, what is it that you are going to do for those individuals or help them do that makes them go, damn, I really want to work with this person? So you need to identify a clear reason as to why people should be training with you. Again, it's not how much you know or what you know exactly. It's what you're able to communicate how you're able to communicate that information to them. It's how you're able to dig in to their pain points and talk to those pain points that resonate with you as a coach that you want to help others with. And this can evolve and change as a coach. This can adapt over time. I know how I trained and what my reasoning was when I first started as a coach 13 plus years ago is different than it is today. I had a different focus. I had a different intention. I didn't communicate very well at all back then. And now how that looks today is different, right? So if you're a beginner coach, right, and you don't have a lot of time under tension, you don't have a lot of skin in the game yet, you might be looking at it from, well, I have this type of experience, right? I want to work with, individuals that are looking to just get started on their fitness journey, just like I'm getting started on my personal training journey. And that's okay to say, right? Hey, like, I'm getting started on my journey, right? You're going to get a great, fun, exciting workout. And that's where we're going to start from, right? And we're going to grow together. And people will resonate with that. Not everyone, but there will be a demographic that will. So no matter if you're just starting off, or you have years of experience and now you kind of have a really understanding of who you want to serve and what you do, you can speak to both of those demographics. Those are pain points and those are components of what people are looking for. So step 1, identify a clear reason as to why people should train with you. Once you've identified why people should train with you, you need to lay out your system. You need to have your system, your process in place, and you need to put the time in and the effort in to create that. I can't overstate how important it is to create your procedures and your system and your flow that your clients are going to go through, right? It's yes, when you're first kind of getting rolling, you can make do for a little bit of just kind of winging it and not really having a real structure or system in place. But at the end of the day, if you really want to grow, if you really want to develop, if you really want to build your business and what you do, you need to have procedures and systems in place. You need to understand, what does it look like from the moment that I make contact with that person, the moment they sign up and start to roll in my system, in my business, what does their experience look like? Do they go through a consult? Do they go through a movement assessment? Do they go through secondary movement assessments? Do they go through nutrition assessments? Do they go through lifestyle review? Like, what is it that they go through, right? Do they do trainings on anything that they're going to need to use? Literally, what does that flow look like? you need to create that system and make it very concise for yourself. Make it very procedural, right? That this is the communication dialogue that I have when they first start. This is the template that I use for my consults. This is the template I use for my assessment protocols. This is the way that I help to create their experience with the platform that I use for programming, right? For nutrition, right? And I did a talk the other day on my top apps that I like to use, so you can go check that one out. But having a workflow with that, having trainings with that, right? Like when you are first signing someone up, it might be that you say, okay, we're going to get started next week. And you might not be starting right away with them, but hey, they're ready to go. Okay, sign up. We're going to get started next week. We're going to have our first call if it's online or in person. We're going to have our first session, and we are going to start to get to work. But in that week time, you might be sending them some trainings on the platform that you utilize, right? You might be sending them a procedural outline of how to utilize like I say, I use TrueCoach, how to utilize TrueCoach for their programming perspective. If they're an in-person client, then you might have a week-long, okay, I want you to write down your day-to-day structure for this next week and show me what that day flow kind of looks like for you, right? What does your schedule look like over this next week? Your nutrition, your sleep habits, those things. You might have that in place, and that's part of your system. That's part of your procedure. So that's number 2, right? You got to get your procedures down. You got to get your systems down. If you don't have those systems and those procedures in place for your clients and the flow that they're going to go through, then you're going to hit some walls. You'll make do for a period of time, but eventually you're just going to hit some walls and you're not going to be able to progress and grow, especially as you start to bring on more and more clients, especially as your business grows, right? If you're good at what the hell you do, then as your system grows, or as your business grows, I should say, your systems are going to need to be in place in order to effectively handle that client load. Then from there, it's a bit of a layered piece, number 2 and number 3 here, but expectations, right? This was a big one for me when I first started. I didn't set proper expectations when I first started as a coach over a decade ago, right? Now I set very clear expectations. And it's also because I work with a very specific demographic of people in person. So those people that I work with in person, there's some very clear understanding of like what it is that we do and what we're going to be doing. Online as well, expectations there as far as when my communication will come in, like how soon I'll communicate with you, when I'll be available, those pieces. So setting expectations, right? They're tough conversations to have. Not so fun sometimes to kind of be like, hey, here's our expectations of this relationship, right? This working relationship between you and I. It's a tough conversation to have up front, but you need to have that understanding. And I've even gone as far as having things done in an email format as well, right? When someone's part of the workflow is someone starts with me, then they get a written version of these expectations, right? I not only talk it out with them, but they also have a written version of it. So what is their preferred way of being communicated with, right? Let's set that expectation, right? I'll say, hey, I prefer being communicated via the texting platform on TrueCoach, right? That's the best way. And if that's not the best for you, then the other platform that I'll use is WhatsApp. But my personal text messaging, right, my iMessage and whatnot, that is reserved for non-work related messages, right? So all my work related messages are through a specific avenue. And I make that clear. That's where we communicate that expectation, right? The feedback, right? Obviously, as a coach, you're going to be providing feedback. So what does that feedback look like? What's the expectation of that feedback? Can they expect you to provide feedback every single day? Is it once a week that you'll review their stuff? Is it are they going to get verbal and visual feedback? And, what is that type of feedback that they're going to get so that they know, as well as them communicating with you? Hey, I really benefit and I excel when you provide this type of feedback. So getting clear on that, right? Creating some clarity around those expectations. It's really, really, really important. If you're working with an online client and they need answers right away, well, here's first of all how you can avoid that, right? Because oftentimes a client would be like, hey, I'm stuck. What does this mean? Okay, well, the way to avoid that in sort of a real-time moment, in the moment, hey, I'm not sure what to do, is to have a system in place that makes it so they know, and the expectations are that they're going to review their next day programming the day before. So if they are coming in, then they review their next day programming the day before, so that if they do have any questions, then those can be answered prior to them actually being in the gym and twiddling their thumbs going, I don't know what the hell this actually means, and trying to get a hold of you. And well, you're in your flow, you're in your work state through that day, and maybe you aren't able to answer them right away. All right. Now, yes, there's obviously times and whatnot where that can't be avoided. So that comes down to you as well as your explanation to them that as a coach, how you will be writing the programming and describing things to them and the clarity around that. So expectations around how clear things will be. So I know when I work with clients right off the bat, I will, tell them and in the programming, I'll be very descriptive in the programming right away. And then over time, they can expect that description may go down a little bit unless it's something brand new. But as they're seeing things more and more, they don't need to have as much description with it. They know. But that also comes from us communicating and being very clear with our communication. So step number 3, set those expectations. They're tough conversations to have right off the bat. They're not always comfortable to kind of lay out your boundaries, but they're very, very, very important to set those expectations in place. Then number 4, okay, so getting and retaining new clients. Now, this layers into the systems you have, this layers into procedures you have, and I touched on this, but I make this its own thing because this is just so important from a retention standpoint. If you are not testing, you are just guessing. If you are not assessing, you are just guessing, right? This is such an important piece as a coach. And I see too many coaches that just start to program and they never actually are assessing anything. They're not testing anything. They're just saying, here's your program, go do it. And it's not based on any actual assessment of that person. It's not based off any movement assessment of that person, any range of motion assessments. It's not based on any strength bias assessments. It's just literally go do. And so how do you know any progression, right? If we're talking about getting and retaining clients, the best way to get and retain a client is, or one of the best ways is this. If you can have an effective assessment that takes them through a series and a protocol that then you can retest and they can see very clear ability and improvement along that journey, then you are going to retain that client. It's a very simple process. I've had that pretty well my whole career. That is one area that I'm proud of myself and say that I've had that my entire career because I had coaches that did that. I was fortunate enough to be taught under coaches that always assessed first. And they always had testing parameters first. And we would always use those as our benchmarks moving forward. No matter what the training was, we would always fall back on those as retests to see how well we are improving. So if you are not assessing, then you're just guessing. And then you're also throwing out the ability to really create a deep connection with that client and retain them as a client. Because that ability to assess and reassess and show them that progress with simple things has such a profound impact on their journey. Okay, like honestly, someone comes to us, one of our assessment protocols is a standing lumbopelvic flexion, so a toe touch. And it's one of the simplest things, simplest movements, but doing that as part of the assessment, them doing training and work and mobility work and all the things, and then retesting that and then being able to touch their toes, they're just blown away. They're like, holy shit. This is amazing. I've never been able to touch my toes in my life. They go do it. Now that retention with them, easy. For them to be retained as a client, 10 times easier. Because you just put the time in to create an assessment protocol that allows them to see simple progress. Yes, in their training, they get to do the fun stuff, things that they want to do, but you're also basing it around that assessment, which is a simple way to always fall back on and show them very consistent progress. So that's the 4th thing. Assessment, make sure that you have that assessment, make sure you're correcting, make sure you're actually coaching people, truly coaching people, right? It's not just here's a program, go do, right? Like you're truly coaching them. And then the final step here is to always be reevaluating. Okay, so always be reevaluating your systems and your procedures, right? So 5 steps to getting and retaining clients also comes down to reevaluating the process. So over the course of my career, as my business has developed, I've had to reevaluate and be open to changing and adjusting as we went. As my team grew, right, I had to change and adjust and look at, okay, the system I had in place worked when it was just small, when it was just me. But now the system and processes that I have in place wouldn't work for a team of 20. Okay, so I now have a team of, we're going to have hiring on a couple more. So upwards of 20 coaches now that I have in-house with my business. And if I didn't reassess and reevaluate my procedures and my systems and my assessment strategies and those things, then I wouldn't continually grow. Now, it doesn't mean that it's always going to change. It's just that you reassessing it is going to allow you to find any holes, find any gaps in the system, find any things that may be needing some tweaks or changes along the way. So reassess your systems, your procedures, your strategies, and find any gaps or holes that you could clean up. Find any ways that you could improve your communication or your connection to those that you serve, right? Any ways that you could, refine the way that you assess or the way that you create clarity around expectations, right? What are some ways that you can make that better, more efficient? What are some of the ways that your onboarding process can be more efficient? And the more that you start to work on that and clean that up over the years, the more the client experience is improved. And the more that they are going to be like, this is awesome experience. I love this coach. I want to send everyone to them. So hope that helps. That was a little longer than I anticipated, but hope that gives you some insight into some steps to helping you get and retain clients for your coaching business. Have a fantastic day. Level up.